They had been hunting him for years. Every lead went cold. Every raid came too late. He didn't just hide. He stayed one step ahead, protected by an empire, and surrounded by people who would never betray him. But even the most careful man makes one mistake. Not in war, not in business, in trust, because while they couldn't find him, they found someone close to him. A relationship he thought no one knew about, and without realizing it, she led them straight to him. This is the story of how El Mencio, the most wanted man in Mexico, was killed. February 22nd, 2026, in the mountains of Jalisco, Mexico, one of the most dangerous men on earth was finally found. After years of evading capture, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, was surrounded, but this wouldn't end quietly. It would end in fire, chaos, and blood. Default El Mencho wasn't just a cartel boss. He was the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most powerful and violent criminal organizations in the world. His empire stretched across continents, trafficking drugs, weapons, and fear. Governments wanted him. The United States placed a $15 million bounty on his head. But for years, he stayed invisible. Text. This wasn't the first attempt to capture him. In previous operations, helicopters were shot down, soldiers were ambushed, and entire missions collapsed. El Mencho had built a military-style defense network. Informants, safe houses, armed convoys. Every move authorities made, he seemed to already know, until one small mistake changed everything. The breakthrough didn't come from weapons or raids. It came from someone close to him. Intelligence agencies began tracking. A woman, his romantic partner. She was escorted by a trusted cartel associate into a remote region of Jalisco. That movement raised alarms. Surveillance intensified. And for the first time, El Mencho's location was no longer a mystery. Mexican forces didn't act immediately. They waited. U.S. intelligence stepped in, confirming the location using advanced surveillance, drones, signals, movement patterns. Everything pointed to one place, a hidden compound in the mountains of Tapalpa, Jalisco. The hunt was over. The operation was about to begin. Before sunrise, elite forces moved in. The Mexican Army, the National Guard, air support above. Their objective, capture El Mencho alive. But the cartel was ready. What followed was a full-scale battle. Heavy weapons, explosions, rocket launchers. From a distance, patterns began to form. Movements, shifts in security, and most importantly, confirmation of who was inside. Once that was clear, everything changed. Orders were given. Units were positioned. The air grew tense as multiple forces moved into place, quietly surrounding the area. No warnings, no second chances, because this time, they weren't going to miss. And within moments, the silence was about to break. Amid the chaos, El Mencho tried to escape. Protected by loyal bodyguards, he fled into the forest, but he was wounded, weak, slowing down. Soldiers closed in. He was found, hiding, captured, but barely alive. As he was transported, the most wanted man in Mexico died from his injuries. His death sent shockwaves across the country. More than 70 people were killed in the violence that followed. His lieutenant, El Tuli, launched retaliatory attacks before being killed himself. President Claudia Sheinbaum declared the operation a major victory, but the war was far from over.
Parejas al 2020 aquí en el Boulevard Salinas y Nova Sport. Ahí para 10-4.
The reaction was already beginning. News doesn't travel slowly in a world like this. It spreads fast through whispers. through radios, through loyalty, and within minutes, the silence was replaced by something else. Streets began to fill, that even without him, the system was still alive, and those who remained were not done. Not with civilians, but with shadows. Vehicles appeared from nowhere, engines roaring. Then, flames, cars set ablaze, roads blocked, entire areas brought to a standstill. This wasn't random chaos, it was a message, a warning. The fall of El Mencho marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of something new, a power vacuum, new leaders, and possibly even more violence. Because, in the world of cartels, when one king falls, another rises.